So let's just go and cut off right there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Hey Rockstar. Totally forgot what I was going to tell you guys. If it's your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host, Josafat Emiliano. My boy right there, my little sidekick, Miguel's just chilling in the background, just watching over all of us. If it is your first time, I ask you, just show some love, do the thing, the likes, the shares, subscribe, all that good stuff. And to know a little bit more about what we are, what Hey Rockstar is, it's a storytelling platform where I share a lot of my stories, but also bring guests and they share their stories. Stories that are jam-packed with value. Value that you can take, apply to your disciplines, and hopefully that encourages you and helps you to detach from failure, take ownership, and develop the right mindset to go and then become the rock star of your industry. This is episode 54, A Rock Star's Tales of Horror. Sorta. Welcome, welcome. Let me go and take these off for a bit. Whoa, didn't mean to hit the mic there. It's scary. Welcome. How's everyone doing? If you want to put a comment or something in the chats, go ahead. I'll be able to highlight and maybe even converse with you a little bit. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We are coming to you live from Nashville, Tennessee. And I feel like this is a little bit too much. But let me go and take this off because I really only needed it for the music, not so much to talk to you guys. Honestly, let's just jump right in. I'm going to talk a little bit about Halloween and me. Horror stories, not so much horror stories. It's just my take on Halloween. So I need to start off with, I really have enjoyed spending time with my friends here as they get involved. It's a holiday that a lot of my friends here actually go into hardcore. They're always inviting me to their gatherings, to the get-togethers, and I'm excited that this year we're having some get-togethers, a few house parties. Now that compared to last year where no one did anything because, well, no one was supposed to do anything because of the great beer bug of 2020 that enslaved us all. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I just wanted to say I'm excited because I've always been happy to see my friends who really enjoyed this time. They enjoy the decor, they enjoy dressing up, they enjoy the treats. And that's one thing I do enjoy. Actually, my favorite day is always October 31st, but November 1st, the day after Halloween, when all the Halloween candy goes on sale. And if you go to Big Lots or somewhere even like Ollie's, it's even more cheap. Anyway, cavities after cavities. This is the season. When all the holidays begin from October, November to December, it's the season where we get festive, we get plumpy, we get sugar rushes, we get whatever. But anyway, I need to give you a little bit about my background. You see, growing up, I wasn't allowed to partake in the All Hallows Eve festivities. It was something that, because of the strict religious background that I had, it was really frowned upon. Also because of the occultic practice and satanic rituals that, honestly, I didn't do all the research on Hallows Eve and all what it portrays. And for all I know, I just go ahead and tell you I'm ignorant. Growing up, I was ignorant because I just listened to what I was taught. Maybe I should have done more research and figure out more about this, but I'm not here to say right or wrong. I know that a lot of churches, like mine included, take opportunity of this time to create festivals, places where people can come and still partake of candy and dressing up and fellowship and getting to know your community. As a matter of fact, my church is doing that trunk or treat thing this year, where if you are in Nashville this Saturday from 2 to 4, look up the Belonging Co. and we will be having trunk or treat. Bring your kiddies, bring everyone who wants candy, I will probably be there myself taking pictures for the church, because as y'all know, as photography is a little hobby of mine. It's actually become more of a lucrative career choice rather than a hobby. Other than that, and I know like my dad's church and other Spanish churches back in Texas and Arkansas, they use this month to create what they call a missions festival, where they have a huge meal. They celebrate the missionaries from their church. Everyone's encouraged to dress up as someone from a different culture, of a different region, of a different part of the world, just to have fun in the dressing up part of it, having a feast. And again, it's the same spirit of dressing up, coming together, feasting, community. So I can see good things coming out of festivities, of festivals. Whether Halloween should be celebrated or not, I am not gonna tell you anything. All I know is that you have the Spirit of God and you be obedient to that. Again, I'm probably gonna hear slack from someone. It's okay. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to teach. I'm just here to share my experience and when I finally was able to go. So, growing up as a kid, one of the earliest memories I have of Halloween, I don't know, I was maybe 4 or 5. My parents always made sure they had the porch light off to let people know that we weren't participating in the practice of trick or treat. And it always fascinated me. But these are just like fragments of my history. I do remember one time some brave kid, or maybe my mom or someone, left the light on, forgot to turn it off. And little neighbor kids came and knocked on our little trailer door. And my mom's like, oh no. She goes, well, what do I have? What do I have? She opened the door and it's kids, trick or treat. And my mom's like, I don't have anything. So she quickly goes to this, under our sink, she had some raisins. My mom was the lady who gave the neighborhood kids a box of raisins. Because we didn't have candy at the time, at that moment. And it's funny because like every kid dreads the lady gives little bags of raisins. And my mom used to keep them as a treat, as a snack for herself. And to her, it was a sacrifice because that's her treat. But I remember that year, or that occasion, my mom gave him raisins to whoever was there, and then she turned off the light, and we weren't bugged for the rest of the night. But I always remembered at school, they would make a big deal of autumn and fall, or Halloween and dressing up. But I wasn't allowed to dress up and partake as anything for the occasion. I'm not saying wrong or bad. I wasn't. But I do remember one year where we had to send we had sent home a note saying, I don't remember what it was, or just my parents were to give permission for me to participate in a Halloween party, I guess, at school. And my mom's like, well, it's something at school. It's okay. And she signed off on it. But as a kid, I don't know, for some reason, I understood as my mom was saying it's okay for me to participate in Halloween that year. And I got excited because my mind's like, that means I get to go trick-or-treating. I've never gone trick-or-treating. I want to experience this thrill of going out and saying trick-or-treat and getting some candies from people. And I remember that I went home, I was excited, and I was like, I need to make a costume. And I was, in my little mind, I was like, I want to make an awesome costume. I'm going to make a Phantom of the Opera costume. I have no idea why that thought was even in my head, but I remember I was cutting material, and I didn't know how to sew, but I knew how to glue, and I was gluing this black material to this thick cardboard paper that stapled together to make a hat. And I had glued all the stuff, and I had made a hat, and I was going to make a cape out of the rest of the material. And like, now I just need to come up with a mask. And I forgot what it was. Maybe I was trying to look for a paper plate that I could cut off and make a mask to put over my face. And in my mind's like, I was going to be, and thinking back at the way it looked, it wouldn't have been that impressive of a costume, but I didn't care. I just wanted to know the chance to try to participate, to experience Halloween trick-or-treating. And I just remember when I came out, my mom's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm making a costume. I'm gonna go trick-or-treating. My mom's like, no, you're not. I didn't say you could go. Like, but you signed off. Like, yes, I signed off that at school you could participate in whatever little activities, little party that they had. But no, you know what we believe, and you know that your dad and I don't agree with this. And I'm like, oh, to my little broken heart, I had to. And she goes, look at this mess you made. So I had to throw away. Whatever, get up, whatever. Now, please don't go chew out my mom. Please don't go and chew out my dad. Don't. I hold no ill attempt or will on it. It's what we were taught, and I had to respect what we were taught. However, thankfully, I have an uncle. Actually, I have several uncles, but this one in particular, he found a loophole. And that year, he asked, or maybe it was my cousins who told me to ask my mom if I could spend the night and hang out with them. And my mom's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so the awesome thing is that my uncle knew, and you know, now I think back, my mom really wasn't so worried about the practice of witchcraft and thing. It was more of the church said no, and also safety, because we had heard rumors about check your candy because there's stuff being put in the candy and people are trying to hurt your kids by putting razors and pins and stuff. Now, I'm not saying if it was true or not, if it was a rumor or not. I'm just saying that's what we heard, and that was more the fear. Because even the news, I remember they said you got to bring the hospital's letting you bring your candy to scan to make sure your candy was clear, and I was like freaking out over that. But my uncle asked, and I at first I thought he was being sneaky, but later on I found out that he had okayed it with my mom beforehand. We didn't even ask my dad because we knew his answer would be no. But my mom actually said okay, but it had to be with my uncle. So my uncle, he took my cousins and I, and he had a lot of business connections around town, businesses that were participating in giving candy to kids. So what he did is he took us and he drove us to these different businesses. And for the first time ever, your boy got to take a little, it wasn't even a official trick-or-treat bag. It was just a grocery bag from Thriftway Grocery, or maybe it was Porter's Thriftway or Furs, because we used to have a Furs back in the day. And we'd walk in with a baggie like trick-or-treat, and they gave us a candy. And then he took us to several homes of friends of his, and they gave us some candy. And I remember one in particular, they didn't give us candy, but they gave us like a caramel apple. Oh my gosh, that was the best caramel apple I ever had in my life. I mean, I've had him before, but the fact that I got to finally do the trick or treat and receive this treat from this was a memory that I remember well to this day as a kid, that for the first time I got to participate. Maybe it wasn't the whole going door to door, but it was at least going to a business to business, and then a few friends houses of my uncle's friends who were in the green. And I just remember the happiness that I spent with my cousins, and I didn't get that much candy, I don't think. At least if I think back to it now, like I ate more candy than that on my own going on a road trip. But it was enough for me to be just to say I finally got to do it. So let's fast forward. And so that kind of turned a little rebelliousness in me, a little rebellion. Because another year I remember, we as kids, or just growing up in the environment that I grew up, we always had conferences, church conferences, or all church conferences. In Spanish, they're called confraternidades. And what it would be is once a month, all the churches got together in that district or in that section, and they would meet up at a certain town, a certain city. Usually it was hosted at someone's church, or they would rent out a community center if the church was too small to hold everyone. And in this particular year, we went to Monahan's, where my brother-in-law and my sister had a church, and my dad took me there, and he was inside talking. They were doing their church thing, and it happened to fall on a Saturday, and Saturday happened to be a Halloween or whatever was the trick-or-treating was happening on Saturday. And I remember that my friends and I were outside, just kind of playing outside, and we noticed that there was people taking their kids door to door. And we were like, hey, we're, I don't want to say we're maybe middle school age, maybe fifth grade, sixth grade age. And we're like, we can go. We don't have our parents here, but we can. But none of those kids needed some kind of parent guardian, and we could easily go to these doors with lights on because they're participating, giving candy, and we were like excited. But we didn't have bags, we didn't have clothes, or we didn't have any kind of costumes. Like, quick, what should we be? So one of us like, oh, let's turn our shirts inside out. So we did. We kind of put our shirts backwards, and we're like, we're backwards people. And we started going from the little door to door around this community center where this comfort thing I was going. And we didn't have bags. We're like, trick or treat. Like, oh, what are you supposed to be? Backwards people. Where's your bag? Oh, backwards people don't have bags, but we have pockets. And so they gave us candies, whatever. We didn't get that much. There were only like maybe 3 or 4 houses, but still, it was the thrill of going, knocking door to door and getting candy as backwards people. Man, if my mom was watching this, she's probably like, ay, mijo, how did I, why did you get away with some things? But anyway, I know those of you are tuning in like, why is he talking about trick-or-treating? I'm talking about the whole story of how I got involved in it because I was not neglected. I was not allowed to practice it as a child. No biggie. But as we got older, everything kind of changed. You know, eventually you get to a point, and I started hanging out with kids, and then we got into the bad side. You know, as teenagers, we participated in the egg, and now I never really threw eggs at people's houses, but I did wrap houses. We did wrap. We would go and buy toilet paper at Walmart, and then we would go wrapping houses on Halloween. I'm not gonna tell you whose house we wrapped because, you know, I mean, I would probably get in trouble, but I don't mind getting in trouble for coming clean for that. But I don't want to drag anyone else down who participated in house wrapping on Halloween. And maybe that was our way of being rebellious against the system. But we will tell you this: they were mainly church members' houses that we would wrap, especially like the more mean people in our church. I'm glad it never came back to. It was the pastor's son who did it. Of course, if they're watching my show now, many moons ago, they're like, it was the son of the pastor who wrapped our house. It was. Guilty as charged. Come follow me here in Nashville, and we will do that. Oh man. And then you get older, and then you become an uncle, and things kind of change. And I've noticed as we get more through the system, like rituals change, mindsets change, belief systems change. Almost not so much like your hardcore do's and don'ts, but more like the traditions and the practices. And a lot of the church people have become more lax in that practice of not letting kids participate in All Hallows Eve. And some even encourage it. I mean, most of the people I know that are believers most of the people that I know that throw these parties and Halloween parties and such are believers. And so, but now it's more of the practice and celebration. I remember the first time I got to take my niece and nephews to a festival. A church was putting on this huge festival where they went and they had candy galore, and it was the same thing kind of like what my church is doing, like a trunk or treat thing. They had music and such, but it was a pretty big event they had there in West Texas. And afterwards, we went there first and let them get stuff in their bags, and then afterwards we'd go to the houses. And it's funny because my little sister is like, well, I know where the good houses are. So she kind of already had a route. This is the same little sister that when Black Friday was a fun event for us, she would make a schedule of what store opens at what time, when we're going to be there, and what everyone's list was to pick up when we were there. And I'm telling you, she had her system down. And to me, Black Friday was more of me just going, checking out the sites. If there was something cool that I wanted to spend money on, cool. But mainly just being there, make sure she didn't get in any fights, or having her back if she did. But it was the same sibling who was just so detailed in her strategy at Black Friday. Was the same one who knew which houses to hit for her kids to get the majority, and not just regular candies, but the big candies kind of situation. And it worked out for me because as an uncle, I had to collect my tithe. That's part of the deal. But thankfully, my niece and nephews were a lot more giving than I am. They're a lot more willing to share. Growing up anyway, because as a kid, I didn't get much. But it was good times, and I got to participate in several of those outings with them as watching them grow up. And to this day, they still enjoy and get to go out. Me, not so much now because I don't have any kids of my own. I don't feel the thrill of going door to door, but I do enjoy going to these get-togethers, these gatherings, these Halloween parties. Not so much, and of course we get to dress up, we get to have fun, we get to participate. As an actor, wearing a costume, putting on a disguise, putting on whatever is nothing new. It's something that is just part of life in general. Being the rock star is part of my persona. I mean, I don't go out dressed as a rock star all the time, but I will once certain situations happen. However, it's more of the mindset, but I'm not going to that. I'm going more to what I like most about these parties I've been going to, especially here in Nashville. Every Halloween party I've gone to here has always been because I've been invited to go to just to spend time, whether it was with the bicycle guys or the church people. I always go with intention to meet new people, to have fun, to reconnect, to just catch up and just be jolly, or just be down to earth. And actually, the last 2 years I've always gone to parties, or last 2 years before the pandemic, I would always go to Halloween parties dressed as Santa Claus, because why not? It's a costume. And as soon as that's over, we can start celebrating it, right? So anyway, that was pretty much all I wanted to share with you guys, is just my experience on Halloween and how I started getting involved in it. Now, fast forward to today. I'm not the first person to dress up to put spooky things out. As a matter of fact, the costume I'm going to wear at these parties this year is something I've worn in the past, but it's a different party, a different host. It seems like every year I go to a different person's party. So I'm just going to mix and match, put it on, and go. I mean, I think I still have a doctor's suit, or doctor's, it's not a real doctor's lab coat, but it's a one of those dress up lab coats somewhere, and I might use that tomorrow. Or is it tomorrow? No. Over the weekend. Yeah, Halloween's over the weekend. But anyway, there really is no valuable lesson that I wanted to share. I know horror tales or scary tales of horror. I can tell you this: in my travels and my journeys, especially to impoverished countries where they're very superstitious. They practice a lot of black magic, witchcraft. I do have stories, scary incidents of feelings of just terror going to these things. Let me. Oh, dude, I didn't even talk about haunted houses. Like when you go to the haunted houses and such with people. I'm not one to feel terror. I'm not one to, when you're in the environment, you start feeling the creepiness and you like, oh. Now, if you startle me, I probably will jump, especially if I don't see it coming. If you surprise me, I'll probably flinch. But that doesn't mean I'm scared. That just means you caught me off guard for a moment. But I remember. All right, another college story. So, back in college, I was working at Chick-fil-A, of all places. Yes, of course, I worked at Chick-fil-A. And I remember it was a Sunday that a lot of people, a lot of team members or workers, they decided, along with some of the managers, they decided they wanted to hang out and go to do a scary maze or a scary haunted house maze there in no, we went to the Scarborough Fair. If you are familiar with Dallas Fort Worth, they have a place called the Scarborough Fair where they had the Renaissance Fair, but in the Halloween time or in October, they converted it into a haunted fair. So they have like 5 different haunted houses and 1 haunted maze. And I remember a group of us, we decided we wanted to go to this thing. And so we went to this thing. I forgot what I had on. Even that, I went to work and I noticed everyone was dressed up. I'm like, well, I want to dress up in something. And I happened to have like a plaid shirt and I just kind of buttoned the top button. And I was like, I'm a cholo. I'm a backwards person, then I become a cholo. I keep it real simple. Anyway, now I'm a guitarist. It was we go to this thing and we start going, and the cool thing about being a guy who's just not scared or terrorized, but more rather startled, is that these things, they don't take you by surprise. Of course, a lot of the fear factor comes from the jumping. So I just had to mentally make a note, something's going to jump at me at any time, but just keep that in mind. And if they jump out at you, you can go like, oh, cool, but don't continue to react, because these actors, they feed on the people who are the most terrorized. And it's funny because we're walking, and so I'm leading the pack because I'm just, it's to me, it's all makeup and whatever. And I'm just walking through, and this guy with a chainsaw comes out to me. Of course, I could see right away there was no chain on the chainsaw, it was just making noise. And he was just following me. And I looked at him like, bro, honestly, you're wasting your time. I'm not really scared. I'm just here because my friends want to. But the guy behind me, his name was Eddie. The guy, he's one of the managers. Like, he is easily terrorized. Have fun with that. And he goes, okay. So he kind of hit it. And sure enough, as soon as Eddie turned the corner, he jumped up. He got scared. He was like, get away from me. And this guy was having fun chasing him around. And Eddie just at one point, he was just like, okay. And so that's what it was. We were taking turns on who would lead the troop. And then one of the houses, when it was Eddie's turn to lead the troop, he started. And as soon as we went in, he got freaked out. He just took off. Pew! He jet and left the whole group behind. We finally made it through the whole haunted maze. And he was at the end just like, oh, you guys okay? We're like, you left us, man. You abandoned your post. What happened? Oh, man, I wonder whatever happened to Eddie. He was good. He was a good manager. Oh, man. I've gone to many fun Fright Fests with a lot of good people. And I appreciate them inviting me, even though they know that I didn't grow up with that or that I really don't seek it. Can't say I won't have fun if you invite me to something. I will definitely have fun. I'm always down for a party or a mixer or something to do where I get to meet people, have fun, just experience life, experience connection, experience even Dia de los Muertos in Mexico when they celebrate it. I know it's another thing that a lot of religious people, can't say all Christians, but a lot of over religious people really. And maybe I'm talking too light about things because I'm not really well versed on any occultic practices. I just know it's traditions, it's historical, it's something that is celebrated to celebrate the passings of, or to remember the passing of our loved ones. But I mean, I guess because I've experienced some scary stuff. Like, I've experienced demonic possessions, like people who've been possessed by demons. I've experienced like some weird phenomena. I mean, heck, I was even choked once when I was in my bed and little tight fingers were trying to choke the life out of me by a spirit that some force that I couldn't see, although my room was really cold. So, and part of my story, some of you know this, some of you don't know. I don't know if I've ever shared this before, But at the very age of, I want to say 7 or 8, I want to say it was 7. I remember one time sitting in my parents' kitchen room, or in the kitchen on the kitchen table, eating cereal for dinner. And suddenly I just felt the urge to look out the window. And when I looked out the window, at the time, just where our property line ended, on the other side of the fence, I saw a shadow, or a man dressed in a dark, or the shadow of a man dressed in a long coat. And although I couldn't see him, I could sense something was bad. And all of a sudden, is as though I could hear the voice right next to me. I sensed, and I had enough sense to know that voice was coming from this being outside of our property line. And the being said, was the devil himself saying, "I'm coming for you. I am going to take you." Now, this was something that happened to me. And my story is that every night after that night, I was starting to have night terrors and nightmares. And every dream was the same thing: a monster, a zombie, the devil himself were chasing me. I was being chased by this evil presence, and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep up till my birthday. And on my birthday, and this is part of my testimony, on my birthday, I remember I went to this church service of all things, and the evangelist who was speaking just said, "Hey, there's someone here who's been having night terrors, having nightmares," and like, that's me. And I went up to get prayed for, and I thought he was gonna like do the whole put hands on you and make this big old prayer and fire and brimstone or whatever. He didn't. He asked me if I've ever been saved, and I'm like, I'm the pastor's son. Why are you even asking these questions? I know all the songs. I know all the stories. I've memorized all these things. And he's like, never asked you what you memorized or what you can do or what you said. I'm asking you, have you ever personally made the prayer for salvation? And I like thought to myself at that point as a kid, like, no, I never have. And on my birthday, actually, I was 8. On my 9th birthday, I remember I prayed that prayer for salvation, and he led me through the simplest prayer. But after that night, the night terrors ended. It just stopped. I was free from that fear of being chased from whatever. So I know what it's like to feel fear. I know what it's like to feel oppression. So to me, these haunted houses, these fright fests or whatever, they really don't freak me out, because I know what it's like to be freaked out. I know what it's like to seriously sense and know evil. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not making light to these things. I'm just saying I don't have stories to share on Halloween that have freaked me out, especially, well, that's all I can say. Rather than I just have stories of I wanted to participate. To me, it's always been about participating, to get to know, to be like my neighbor. Not so that I can become like them, but so that I can understand them. Participate, see why they enjoy this. And I honestly enjoyed the candy. I enjoyed getting to meet the people. I enjoyed the happiness that my niece and nephews felt whenever they were getting candies and whatever. I even enjoyed wrapping a few houses. Lord, I apologize. But anyway, I'm not going to make it too long. I'm not going to make it too much more. I just wanted to share the fact that this is a time. Let me encourage you this. Now, if you don't feel comfortable participating in any of these events, don't do that. But also, don't let it be something that you use or don't let your thought process or whatever has been taught to you, don't let it be a reason to not love your neighbor, to not extend a helping hand if you see that they need help. If they let their kids go out and pick up candy on that night, don't let that be a time for you to say, well, because they are practicing pagans, if they ever need, that gives me permission to not help. Because remember what it says in the psalmist, for those of you who know what to do, I'm totally butchering. To those of you who know, do not withhold from doing right when it is in the power of your hands to do it. Because if you know what is right and yet you refuse to do it, then to you that's sin. Then to that person, it's considered a sin. Don't let these things stop you from getting to know and getting to love those around you. From getting out. The worst thing about the beer bug of 2020, the reason why I say it's a curse is because it forced everyone to isolate themselves. It forced everyone to be alone. And God never intended for us to be alone. He intended for us to build communities. He intended us to live life together. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy my solitude. I need my solitude. But then you also know that on the other side of me, what I do in my day, I'm constantly around people. I'm pouring into people. I'm loving on people. I am there for people. So I need my alone time. Because that's when him and we catch up. But other than that, I didn't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to share these thoughts about Halloween whenever I got to first feel it. And once this is done, we got a few more good celebrations coming where there's going to be a lot more community, a lot more food, a lot more sweet things, a lot more love to give and to share with one another. So here's to the start of the holiday season. From All Hallows Eve to Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year's to Dia de los Reyes Magos to Hanukkah to Kwanzaa to all of the festivities. Let it be a time for you to appreciate those you get to spend time with, to appreciate and love and fellowship and have community and just enjoy being human. We're all on this rock and we are all more equal than you can realize. We are all loved. We all have heartbeats and we all deserve to share love and love one another. So anyway, this has been episode 54 of Rockstar's Tales of Horror. Sorta. More than anything, it's been a time to just share my thoughts and for those of you who actually we should start that. All right, let me do this. First of all, boom! Shout out to Alex Tinker the Fourth, Josafat, King of the Backwards People. Cheers to the start of the Rockstar holidays. Yes, this is the start of the Rockstar holidays. You know what? It should officially start on the birthday of Hey Rockstar. We started in September, and October, we have Hallows Eve, November, Thanksgiving, December, all of the fun festivities of every religious walks of life. And with that, I finished my coffee. Everyone, thank you for checking us in. This has been, I already said the episode 54. So all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, my name's Josafat Emiliano. That's Miguel. Just want to say thank you for letting us into your homes. Thank you for letting us into your cars. But importantly, thank you for letting us into your hearts. So until next time, much love and many blessings.